Wednesday with a little Thursday feel. We're talking Titans on this Wednesday, and we're talking specifically wide receivers today, a bunch. Making the case for A.J. Brown, second-year Titans wide receiver, to be a top 10 wide receiver. We'll go through. Zach and I compiled a list of the top 9 wide receivers in no particular order, just 9 guys that we know are absolutely should be ranked above A.J. Brown so far at this point in his career. Then we will discuss where A.J. Brown fits. Is he in that 10th spot? That's the conversation that we will have here later on in this show. Then we'll discuss Corey Davis and contract Corey, what a Corey Davis contract extension should look like, and should the Titans be willing to pay that contract extension for Corey Davis, who is having an absolute breakout year. And Zach gets throwing shade on a Wednesday. And I don't think we've been this loaded with shade in a long time, including a fair or foul situation that led me to flip off a driver behind me on Sunday night. So I will ask everybody, was it fair or foul for me to flip off this driver Sunday night? Zach got the very beginning of the story off air, and then he said, "Stop talking. We're taking this to the air." So that will be part of our shade. I've got a Twitter interaction shade that I cannot wait to just blast. And Zach has a shade for what today used to be.
Austin, you're bringing your work home to you. That's what you are, right? You're bringing your work home because you. And I don't know the full story, but it sounds like you got up mad at this guy and flicked him off like you do a commenter saying you've got orange-colored glasses.
I've never flipped the bird. I've never flipped the bird to anybody who watches the show. I think you have before.
I definitely have. I don't know in what context, though.
I think it was a joke, but you definitely have sent that bird out there on the show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, hey, when warranted, I don't know your circumstance. So, like, I'm actually very interested to see how I feel on this. A bird is warranted. I mean, like, in certain situations, I am all pro flicking people off. Well, and it depends on what it is.
Yeah, the funny thing is people are already commenting fair when they have no idea what the story or what the situation was. So That's a good thing for me.
Yeah. So we will get into that. We got a lot to unpack, and we were talking about A.J. Brown. I got a lot. This is going to be a great show. I cannot wait. Before we get going, though, bottom right corner of your screen, if you're watching on Periscope/Twitter, you'll see those 3 little dots. Please retweet the broadcast. We need to pop up in your Twitter followers timeline. Also on YouTube. YouTubers, what's going on? Logan Paul, Jake Paul, all you YouTubers out there, come on, join in. Also, we've got going live on Twitch and on Facebook. More people will pile in the next 5 to 10 minutes. As you do, please share the broadcast, share the show. Sharing is caring. If you're on Facebook, bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. That is share now to public. And Austin, let's get this party started talking wide receivers and my guy, A.J. Brown.
If you're not a super fan of Zach today, then it's going to be a rough show for you to watch. But it's going to be a good show for everybody. Welcome into A to Z Sports. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports, and you like our Facebook page at A to Z Sports Nashville. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, and we go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time. Got to thank our sponsors because they make it all happen for our show, for our business, and for all of you. Renters Warehouse, Nashville, renterswarehouse.com to find out how much your home can rent for. Mandu, the Pulse of Fitness, for 1 15-minute workout equals 5+ hours in the weight room. Mandu.com, your first workout's free. The Tucker Agency, Nashville's independent insurance agency, giving you relief on your financials there at tuckertn.com. Calvin and Subtle for your new hardwood floors and finishings, calvinandsubtle.com. And the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. So here we got Jeffrey saying A.J. Brown is top 5. I don't care what y'all say. Jeffrey, he is not top 5. The fact is, even Zach Bingham, who is the biggest A.J. Brown fanboy in the state of Tennessee, doesn't think that A.J. Brown is a top 5 wide receivers. John is right. He needs to clean up on them drops because and Ty Kendrick says that he's top 5. No, A.J. Brown is not top 5. Is he top 10? That is the big discussion we are here to have today.
Yeah, and look, we've got a lot to dive into. Austin and I did some research on where we think A.J. Brown lands. It's not in the top 5. We both agree on that. I think the debate is going to be top 10 or outside of the top 10. So we'll dive in on this. Before we get going, though, Austin, and you, myself, and Buck, we meet pretty constantly for this business. And this is my greatest idea ever. I will put it, because it's a pan personal.
Okay.
I have a great idea regarding the marketing behind the Tennessee Titans and A.J. Brown, and I would love for our company to collab with the Titans to make this happen.
So should you share this idea or should we wait?
I'm not. You think I'm going to share this idea? You have not known me long enough.
So you're basically just teasing everybody.
This is called the big tease. But this idea would get fans so amped about number 11 heading into next year. I mean, they wouldn't be able to contain themselves. So maybe that's in the future. Who knows? But I think if we put this thing in place, it would be just an all-star idea. Now, The question that we have today is A.J. Brown a top 10 wide receiver? Well, you got to figure out who's ahead of him. And I think this is the most interesting thing of what our Titans fans and our A to Z Sports listeners actually feel. Let's take a look, okay? Let's take a look. Austin and I came up with these 9 wide receivers. Comment in the comment section if you think AJ is better than these. I think Austin and I came to the conclusion that these 9 are above A.J. Brown.
Yeah, and real quick, I Will says Hill, Adams, Hopkins, Julio, Diggs is at the top 5. So this is our top 9, and we're not going to waste time on trying to, say is Tyreek Hill better than Adams or where's Diggs? We're not trying to go 1 through 9. These guys are the top 9, and I'll start top left. Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, very underrated because he plays out with the Chargers. Mike Evans. Then you've got Michael Thomas, who spent most of this season injured, but still a top guy at the position. DeAndre Hopkins, who has helped the Cardinals rebuild their franchise quicker than what would have been. Tyreek Hill. DK Metcalf is a top 9 receiver. And then Julio Jones, the other number 11. So those are the top 9 guys that we came up with. And
in no particular order.
Correct. No particular order. Now, the one arguable guy that's in the top 9 is DK Metcalf for me. DK Metcalf is a top 10 talent at wide receiver. And I think in this 9 that we put out there, DK Metcalf is probably 9th, and a distant 9th, in my opinion. I think Adams, Diggs, Allen, Evans, Thomas, Hopkins, Hill, and Jones are all better than DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf is really good, but right now in his career, second year, where A.J. Brown is, he relies on his physical tools more than the position.
Yeah, well, and his physical tools are dominant. You compare DK and in this situation, because they're the same draft class, AJ Brown, the other guys have just more experience, right? They've played more. They've had opportunity to catch more touchdown passes and gain more yards, be a part of their individual offense more often. Devontae Adams been in the league. Michael Thomas, same. All of these guys, besides DK Metcalf, have been able to experience the NFL a little bit longer and prove their value and their worth. I understand. Nothing that we say on this show is non-arguable, right? Like Dom's coming in there like, what are you guys talking about? Get DK out of there, right? I respect it. I'm okay with that. We knew that this is a conversation that there's a lot of opinions swirling around.
Well, look, and shocker of the morning, Zach, is that Big Ten Jeff says that we're disrespecting Terry McLaurin from The Ohio State University. So it made me get choked up because Big Ten Jeff, as predictable as possible, thinks an Ohio State player should be ranked higher than what we have him. I mean, that's just something that nobody saw coming. Look, Terry McLaurin's good. Don't get me wrong. Terry McLaurin is by far the best thing that Washington football team has going offensively.
Offensively,
But
I was about to say, because
yeah,
Chase
the
Young is a
defense is
bad man.
the defense overall, Zach, is I think that the football team's defense is top 5 in DVOA overall in defense. So McLaurin is not in the top 9. I still think I take AJ Brown over Terry McLaurin, but Terry McLaurin's really good, and he's also a second-year guy, I believe. So there's a lot of really talented young wide receivers, and I think one thing that makes this conversation so difficult is because there are so many guys. There are so many wide receivers putting up like huge numbers in the NFL. So now we're just trying to figure out who should be number 10 to add to the group of 9 that we put up there.
Yeah, and you have to listen to this, right? Like Michael Thomas not having the best year this year, but last year he's proven and earned the right to be in this top 9. Julio Jones has missed some games, right? But he's earned the right to be in this top 9. So you've got to kind of take a different view at it. It's not just black and white, cut and dry. Austin and I are on the same page for once, maybe twice in this show's history.
You're on the same page a lot yesterday, too.
On these and yesterday's show was more about trying to fix something. This is getting down to the dirty 9 we agree on, but that number 10. So here's the question. Is A.J. Brown number 10? Is A.J. Brown a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL right now? Would you put him number 10? And if not, comment in the comment section who would it be? If it's not AJ, who is it? Austin's got a couple of guys. I'm going to sprinkle out some and give my opinion. But is AJ Brown a top 10 wide receiver? And Rob brings up a guy who I've been on the watch for a long time. Justin Jefferson probably could be rookie of the year. He's having that type of season. There's a lot to discuss, but is AJ Brown a top 10 guy?
All right, we'll get your answers and our answers on this. But first, real quick, let me tell you, got the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. Again, whenever that injury happens in life, you never know when it might be, but you need to know where to go once it happens. And that's the Bone and Joint Institute. They've got over a dozen doctors right there in their state-of-the-art facility in Franklin, Tennessee, where they do everything. Normally, you have to go to a different place to get the checkup, a different place for the imaging. Then you got to go back to that doctor's office. Then you got to go all the way to a different surgery center and then a different rehab center. You might be going to 4 or 5 different places across town. Bone and Joint, one place. That's it. boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports. Don't forget, if you're betting, you should bet with MyBookie. We've partnered with them this season. My Titans is the code. My Titans, mybookie.ag. Go there. They'll hook you up with a great deal. Code My Titans if you want to bet on this weekend's game. Austin, I got a 2-game lead in our college football picks.
I know.
All year. I'm feeling good. I'm not trying to get too cocky, but I felt good about that win last week. Georgia thumping Missouri. That helped me. Code My Titans at mybookie.ag.
All right. So is AJ Brown a top 10 wide receiver? Let's read comments because a lot of comments have flown in. So I'm going to try to scroll back up to the top so I can find some comments. Cody says Adam Thielen from the Vikings. Kevin says, what about Allen Robinson? BMO says, I would say A.J. Brown is head and shoulders the best wide receiver drafted in 2019 with Debo Samuel, DK, and McLaurin. Let's see, Jefferson right there. We got hell no from Jeff Rubel. Zell Goes Hard says he's not top 10 until all the drops stop. And Jay asks, are we talking about stats or in 2020 overall career? We're talking about right now, which includes what you've done in the past for your career and what you're currently doing right now. So he kind of goes into there. Ahmad says, there y'all go. Mike Thomas leads the league in catching slants and screens. I don't care if you think Mike Thomas is all he does is catching slants and screens. Michael Thomas is top 10.
A.J. Brown gets slants. He just takes them 75 yards.
What do you think A.J. Brown does? He does slants and fade routes and in-cutting digs that are slightly deeper than a slant. Then let's see. Absolutely, A.J. is top 10 from Joshua. Zell says doesn't deserve top 10 consideration to the drop stop. He kind of reiterated that. Daniel says he would be on the backside of the top 10. We're talking about number 10 because we've already got our 9 figured out. Jeffrey Mullen says top 10 by far. Jeffrey brings up, what about Amari Cooper? Josh says yes. Christine says he's top 5. Number 7 from Louis. Top 10 this season from BMO. Nathan says AJ could fix his drops. Let's see. Arthur Juan Brown is top 10 from Nate. What about Amari Cooper? Jefferson, rookie of the year, is probably going to Herbert there. Apollo says if you put DK up there, you have to put Arthur Juan Kenobi in the top 10. So, Zach, I'm going to go first because I don't think A.J. Brown is number 10 because here are our number 9 guys. And there are, DK Metcalf is the one questionable player on this 9. But
I still think DK is better than A.J. Brown right now. He is. I think he's got a better quarterback, and he's better.
Well, I think the quarterback plays a big part of that, yes. And the style of the quarterback plays a big part. And DK Metcalf has measurables that
he's better stats right now.
He does. But stats, again, I go back to the
watch him play too.
No, Zach, I understand that. Listen to me talk. Stats are hard to look at when you're talking about Titans wide receivers. The Tighten Up podcast basically said Titans receiving yards are like the Canadian dollar. They don't look like a lot, but they go further. And so A.J. Brown is not number 10 on my list, Zach, because I've got 2 guys who have done a lot more with less and a lot more over a longer period of time. Number 10 for me is Allen Robinson of the Chicago Bears. Like, Amari Cooper is being paid like an elite wide receiver with $100 million contract. But Allen Robinson is number 10 for me. I think Amari Cooper is better than A.J. Brown right now. I think A.J. Brown has a higher ceiling than Amari Cooper. But I have to go with Allen Robinson, number 10. I put Amari Cooper at 11. And really, once you're talking about 12, I think A.J. Brown, you can argue him there. But I don't like, there's other guys like Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, Terry McLaurin, who we've talked about, Landry. Like, there's some really good guys there. But, Zach, I put Allen Robinson as my 10th wide receiver.
I put A.J. Brown as my 10th. Surprise, surprise. And look, every wide receiver has its flaws. Every human has its flaws. There's no perfect wide receiver. T.O. was dynamic, but he was in the loony bin in the locker room, right? He was a cancer. That's why he jumped to so many teams. He couldn't get along. Everybody has their flaw. A.J. Brown needs to improve on his drop passes. I'm going to start there because I understand it. I recognize it. I think everybody does because you can see it, right?
And it's also recent, right? The recent drop passes are hurting the Tennessee Titans.
Yes, they're not hurting. They're hurting
yes,
them.
They
they're
are,
not killing. They're not killing them.
Oh,
they're hurting them. They're not killing them.
You don't think that drop, Zach? You don't think that drop pass against the Colts on Thursday night didn't kill the Titans there?
Well, it's too early in the game to kill them, so no.
Don't downplay that. You talked about how that was a turning point in the game.
It was a big thing, but it wasn't.
It was massive, Zach. Come on.
Kill them.
If that was Corey Davis, you'd be dragging him across hot coals and broken glass for that.
No, he would be dragging himself out of bounds. But
no, Zach, that's ridiculous.
So, Austin, let me state what I need to state. Here is the X factor of A.J. Brown and why he's top 10. That we need to all recognize, and we'll bring up Corey Davis and probably have a heated discussion because Austin doesn't like how I feel about A.J. Brown. He also doesn't like how I feel about Corey Davis.
That's not what
that's the facts. You've stated that to my face, and I'm okay with that. Here's the
Here's
the deal about A.J. Brown, the real deal, A.J. Brown. When he catches the ball, he wants more. He doesn't want less. And he will take nothing less but more. He's a touchdown machine. He seeks the pylon. He seeks 6 points. And that's something that you cannot train. That's something that you cannot learn. That's something that is within your wide receiver being, and that catapults him to number 10. Is because the best attribute you can have as a wide receiver, besides catching the football is important, but if you score touchdowns, it doesn't matter. You are an asset to your team. In our company, and I say this to everybody in our company, I've told this to Buck many times, I've told this to you, I've told this to myself. How can I be the best asset to the team? to the company, to the organization, to the business. A.J. Brown is an unbelievable asset because he single-handedly, as a wide receiver, and Austin, you've said this, one of, if not the most dependent positions in football.
The most, yes.
He makes it independent because of his explosive plays that end in touchdowns.
Sure.
This guy in 2 years, if you look at A.J. Brown, 8 touchdowns as a rookie. He already has 9, and he hasn't finished a full season, and he hasn't played all of his games. It's unbelievable, unreal what he's been doing. This is top 10 material. A.J. Brown, ding, ding, ding. Give me number 11. No. Give me number 10.
He's not top 10. He's just not. Like Allen Robinson is doing. Allen Robinson has the worst quarterback situation up there in the NFL. He's had the worst quarterback situations for his entire career. Allen Robinson still has 4 1,000-yard seasons. A lot of times he's had 1,400-yard seasons or more. He's already over 1,000.
One time he had 1,400 yards.
Okay, one time. He's already over 1,000 this year. And the guy is so undervalued because Allen Robinson, because of Trubisky, Foles, and then Blake Bortles before, Allen Robinson needs help. And I feel bad for Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is better than A.J. Brown, Zach. All the things you said about A.J. Brown are true. They are true things. He is the yak god. He is. He is unbelievable when it comes to that. Yes, he scores touchdowns. A.J. Brown is 14th in the NFL this year in yards per game receiving. Corey Davis is one step behind at 15th in the NFL yards per game. So the Titans look very different than what we are used to seeing the Titans do. And Brett saying Allen Robinson is not better than A.J. Brown. Yes, he is. Allen Robinson has been productive for a long time, and he's done it with awful quarterbacks. A.J. Brown has been able to get Ryan Tannehill playing at his best and be insanely productive. Again, it is A.J. Brown is amazing. He is fantastic. He is a top 15 wide receiver, no doubt, but he's not number 10. I need to see it for more years.
He is.
And he is
Yak and TDs.
That's fine. That's great.
No. It's not fine. It's not great. It's dynamic.
Whatever. I mean, you're gonna like. I'm saying those words, responding to your statement, not what you're saying, but responding to you saying that. So A.J. Brown is on his way to being a top 10 wide receiver. Let's put up the 9. Which of these 9 is soonest to drop out? I think Michael Thomas, as old as he is getting towards the second half of his career with no Drew Brees down the future.
More about his quarterback than him.
Right, but Michael Thomas might be teetering towards exiting the top 10. Julio Jones, injuries are a thing, and him being later on in his career. I think Julio Jones is probably trending to leave the top 10. So there is room for A.J. Brown to grow, and eventually I think A.J. Brown will become a top 10 wide receiver. He's not there right now, Zach. You are blinded by Ole Miss glasses, just like you tell me all the time. You think You think I'm blinded by big orange glasses. Shut your mouth.
I haven't said a damn word. You don't tell me to shut my mouth, big
but you sit over here with your mouth wide open. That's what you look whenever.
You know what? You know what I'm blinded by? You know what I'm blinded by? Big dog. I'm blinded by touchdown celebrations that A.J. Brown's doing in the back of the end zone.
That's Zach. Come on. Like, you are so enamored with A.J. Brown because of his connection with Ole Miss that you are not looking at this unbiased. You are being as biased as possible.
I have good reasons. I didn't just say just because.
No. Again, like, I agree with your reasons. It's just you're so biased towards A.J. Brown because of where he went to college that you're throwing him above a bunch of really good Pro Bowl level wide receivers too early.
Look, I'm not discredit. I've never once said a bad thing about Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper. I value Cooper Kupp and Adam Thielen quite a bit as well. But I just think A.J. Brown has an X factor in him that it separates from those wide receivers.
Puka says you have to consider catches and contacts, though. Number of targets, team, and run game. Look, I get that. Like, I think A.J. Brown is a top 12 to 15 wide receiver. I think easily top 14. I think you're trying to argue between You're splitting hairs between like a Cooper Kupp, and Adam Thielen, who's really dang good. Who Amari Cooper, like those, like you're really like splitting hairs between those guys. AJ Brown's top 15, no doubt about that. I just don't think he deserves to be top 10 right now. Like I want to see it next year. Once he does it next year, I think AJ Brown could start to earn his way in the top 10.
All right. So, do you have any value of the national analysts that now recognize, God forbid, a person on the Tennessee Titans, but them recognizing AJ Brown and comparing him to some elite wide receivers? Yeah, I don't know if you're on Twitter. I know you are. AJ Brown had to come in and say AJ is AJ because people are saying AJ is TO. They're not doing that with Allen Robinson right now. They're not doing that with Amari Cooper right now. They're doing that with AJ Brown. What do you think about that? Any value there?
Well, I think it's why are you making the faces that you make?
Because
like you look
why am I making the face?
All right. So the reason
Can I
why
tell you to shut your mouth before you open yours?
No, because I'm not sitting here going like learn how to breathe through your nose, like, or something like that. I don't know. But
good one.
Yeah. Well, I was quoting a movie, but anyway. So AJ Brown, the reason why he is getting those comparisons is because nobody knows AJ Brown. They already know Amari Cooper. He plays for the Raiders and now the Cowboys. People know who Allen Robinson is because he plays in Chicago, even if he has the awful quarterbacks. Like people around the country do not know AJ Brown like that. So what do? You compare them to somebody they do know. And do I think it's a legit comparison? I think AJ Brown and Terrell Owens have similar play styles. Yes, I do. They're yak guys. They're big body guys who catch it with their hands away from their body, and then they run over people and through people and past people on the way to the end zone. They have similar play styles. He is not yet Terrell Owens, but he looks like he's a young Terrell Owens. That's how he plays.
No, yeah, he's definitely not T.O. T.O. never gets recognized for his on-field play because of his off-field antics. That's his own damn fault. It's Ocho Cinco. Nobody really truly knows how good Chad Johnson was. I mean, Chad Johnson for the Bengals in their run with Carson Palmer and T.J. Houshmandzadeh, nobody remembers that. Why? Because Chad Johnson was too busy trying to put on jackets in the celebration and making a mockery of himself that when the dust settled, which talk about life and fame, the dust will settle. Like Charlie Sheen will no longer be winning eventually. Chad Johnson was unbelievable at times, but they don't remember him because of his off-field antics. T.O. is the exact same way. That's why Jerry Rice is the god. Jerry Rice is the god because Jerry Rice did some quality things, won Super Bowls, went about his business. Late in his career, he played for a bunch of teams he didn't need to play for, but that's beside the point, right? T.O. played for a lot of teams that he didn't need to play for because the teams didn't want him anymore.
Yeah. Nate says NFL.com has A.J. Brown making the Pro Bowl. And we actually talked about that pre-show because we were trying to figure out where is A.J. Brown among AFC wide receivers. And we realized quickly, man, the NFC is absolutely loaded. Like, look at all the NFC jerseys on this list. You've got 3 AFC guys in Diggs, Allen, and Hill, and everybody else. So you're saying 6 of the top 9 are NFC guys. And I brought up 2 more guys who are also in the NFC with Amari Cooper and Allen Robinson. And so if you compare the two, yeah, A.J. Brown could be on his way to being a Pro Bowl wide receiver this season. So I do think A.J. Brown could make that because the NFC is very heavy.
Yeah, and the NFC is quality. And so here's the crazy.
The AFC is quality too, but you've got the AFC
quality in wide receivers. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, both conferences. This is why the NFL is so good and so awesome and so badass. Is that both conferences have its unique, different attributes, right? That the Saints, I think they could beat anybody on any given Sunday. I also think that they can lose. I also don't know what Drew Brees is going to be back from his rib injury. Then you have obviously, and here's the crazy part about this whole thing. If you didn't know, now you know. The person that leads the NFL in receiving yards is not a wide receiver. It's Travis Kelce, which I absolutely love. Love Travis Kelce. That is amazing. That's mind-blowing. of what he's doing. Now, does he have the benefit of playing with the best player in the NFL and Patrick Mahomes? Yes, he absolutely does.
And then the fourth leading receiver is Tyreek Hill. So you got two guys that are top 5, top 4 in receiving yards this year.
Right. And so, like, there's something there, but the fact that Travis Kelce has over 1,200 yards already, he's a tight end and leads the league over all wide receivers it's just something to remember. I don't know if by the end of the season it will end that way, but it's something to open your eyes at and be like, damn, he is on a tear.
Yeah. Look, again, I think A.J. Brown is somewhere between 12 and 15 top wide receiver. Zach thinks he's number 10. I think that's I will allow that to be the Ole Miss curve, right? Like you get your Ole Miss curve it's the spread, right?
Touchdown curve.
Okay, yeah.
Well, who scores TDs?
A lot of these guys score touchdowns minus Julio Jones. Whatever it is, Julio Jones just doesn't score touchdowns.
But Austin, the guys that you're arguing aren't close to A.J. Brown in touchdowns.
Well, because they both have literal ass at quarterback.
Whose problem's that? That's not what we're talking about.
I know, but we're
Keenan Allen's got he's got a rookie QB.
Yeah, I know that. But Zach,
Michael Thomas has basically a wide receiver running back at quarterback.
I know, and Michael Thomas has been hurt for a lot of the years. So again, like we're not talking about the offense. Like you have to
That sounds like an excuse, not a reason.
No, I think because Amari Cooper and Allen Robinson are continuing to have really good years with absolute nothing at quarterback.
A.J. Brown catches touchdowns.
I understand. Good Lord, Zach. Like half the time the Bears can't even get in touchdown range.
Whose fault is that?
It's the entire franchises. It's Matt Nagy's. It's the Bears GM for not drafting Patrick Mahomes. It sure as hell isn't Allen Robinson's fault. It's not Amari Cooper's fault that Dak Prescott broke his ankle in half.
And it's not A.J. Brown's fault that he's a top 10 wide receiver.
Zach, he's not top 10. That is your Ole Miss bias, jumping him up a couple more spots than he needs to be.
It absolutely is not. It's about on-the-field productivity, bud.
I understand, dude. I get it, man. You love A.J. Brown. You love him. I get why you love him. It makes all the sense in the world. He is amazing. He is a Pro Bowler, most likely to be named this year. He is a top 15 wide receiver in the second year of his NFL career. He's just not number 10 right now. Like, that's okay. You have to agree to disagree with me on this and move forward with it. I think you're biased because he went to Ole Miss. And I think you would agree with that.
No, I look at his on-field value. That's what I look at.
Okay. Yes, and Allen Robinson doesn't have on-field value?
Not as much as A.J. Brown. It's the way A.J. Brown plays. Like, so we talk about stats, right? And then you talk about eye test. A.J. Brown has had 5 plays that Allen Robinson has never had. And that's just the fact.
They're different guys.
I know they're different. And that's why
and that's
A.J. Brown being in the top 10 and Allen Robinson not. But it's because 5 plays, and Allen Robinson's had a lot more plays in the NFL than A.J. Brown has, but 5 plays that separate the Ravens, for example, 3rd down, touchdown. The Steelers, for example, slant. Nobody can catch that man. Atlanta last year, 4th game of the season. Open up the save.
Zach,
let's get the cat.
I get it, Zach. DeAndre Hopkins doesn't have 5 plays that A.J. Brown has. That doesn't mean A.J. Brown's a better wide receiver than DeAndre Hopkins.
I agree with that. DeAndre Hopkins definitely does.
Not like Zach. Not like what A.J. Brown has. DeAndre Hopkins has the slant that runs for 70 yards?
No.
That's what I'm talking about, Zach.
A dynamic, stellar play. You're putting yourself into a corner.
No,
I'm saying
you're putting yourself in a corner.
A play that drops jaws.
Okay. But that doesn't mean
Allen Robinson doesn't have those.
Yeah, but you know what he does? He has consistency over years of a career with bad quarterbacks that he's overcoming. And DJ says, so Austin, in fantasy football, who are you drafting, Brown or Robinson? I don't play fantasy football because it's a waste of my damn time.
It's not a waste of your time.
It is a waste of my time. It's a waste of my time. I've got other things I can do helping run this business than worry about the damn waiver
It'll
wire.
help your show. It'll help the show.
No, it doesn't. I tried to do that last year. It doesn't.
Absolutely does. It's more. You now are more intrigued with other teams. Your silence tells me everything.
No, my silence was because I was reading something else, trying to transition to the next topic of the show, not based off of what I'm not that. Okay. All right. A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. Let's discuss Corey Davis now.
And red hot topics today.
Say what?
Red hot topics today.
Well, yeah, but it's because I believe you're being as stubborn as possible because your Ole Miss Rebel wide receiver is amazing and you're biased by
Yak and TDs. That's
great. He does amazing things. A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. Here is what a Corey Davis contract should look like. But first, Zach, tell the people about the Tucker Agency.
But what you should do is go to tuckertn.com and save money on your insurance. That's what you should do. Now, all you have to do is compose an email and you can save 20% on your insurance. Will@tuckertn.com. That's as simple as it gets. Hey, heard about you on A to Z Sports. How can I save money on my insurance? They do life insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance, renter's insurance. They can bundle some of those together and make your life a lot easier. The average customer, I will repeat, saves 20%. So if you're paying $1,000 as an example for your insurance, you could have $200 back in your pocket this holiday season or going into 2021, in which we all hope is better than 2020. There you go. TuckerTN.com. You can email him today. His team will take a look at your policy, restructure it, and save you money, put money back in your pocket. That's Will@TuckerTN.com.
A to Z Sports, don't forget mybookie.ag, code MyTitans to help you out with your deposit. They will give you money back on your first deposit if you use code MyTitans at mybookie.ag. Check that out for all your gambling. I actually bet on like 3 or 4 games yesterday that I got my eye on. So what a Corey Davis contract extension should look like, Zach.
Can I do a timeout real quick? And I want you to answer this. Manuel says, bro, Corey is a number 1 receiver.
No, that's not what
he can kill the supporting cast BS. This is a quick side topic. Do you think that Corey is, or let's just even see, can be a number 1 wide receiver?
Oh, wait, that's not what he was saying. He says Corey is the number 1 wide receiver. That's what the comment you just showed. Corey Davis is not the Titans' number 1 wide receiver. A.J. Brown is the Titans' number 1 wide receiver. Corey Davis is an out-of-this-world number 2 wide receiver. Can Corey Davis become a wide receiver number 1 elsewhere? I think that's kind of what we're talking about now because we're trying to figure out what this contract extension is going to look like. Would Corey Davis be the number 1 wide receiver for the Jets? Hell yeah. I mean, again, that's not saying that much. Would he be – I mean, I don't know exactly off the top of my head which teams would be in the Corey Davis sweepstakes coming up in March of 2021. But Corey Davis, I think, can be a number 1 wide receiver. He's not that with the Titans. So what would a Corey Davis contract extension look like? So Jack Gentry on our website, A to Z Sports Nashville.com, did a good job of comparing Corey Davis to 3 other wide receivers who recently got contract extensions. Devontae Parker of the Dolphins, Sterling Shepard of the Giants, and Robbie Anderson from the Jets to the Panthers. So what all these guys have in common is their production for their first 4 years of their career, very similar to what Corey Davis has done. Corey Davis actually more productive than Devontae Parker's first 4 years in Miami. He scored more touchdowns and more yards than Parker. Sterling Shepard is more touchdowns, similar yards to Corey Davis, and Robbie Anderson more yards than Corey Davis, and I believe similar touchdowns as well. So those guys, all 3, got an average of $10 million per year. Parker and Shepard got 4-year deals for $40 million, so 10 per year. Robbie Anderson got a 2-year deal with the Panthers for $20 million. So pretty easy math there on what these guys get. Corey Davis for $10 million a year. Now, his 5th-year option would be for over $15 million a year. The Titans declined. That was the correct move. I hate when Titans fans say, "Oh, they should have picked up Corey's fifth-year option."
I don't
No,
hear that a lot. Maybe
I hear it some, not a ton, but I hear it some. Um, you heard it more with Jack Conklin, right? With they should have picked up Jack Conklin's fifth-year option. I think Jack
Well,
Conklin.
good news is they got Isaiah Wilson now, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. But that Jack Conklin's fifth-year option would have been about the same thing as Corey Davis's. And at the time the decision on the fifth-year option has to be made, it was not worth doing that for both Corey Davis and Jack Conklin. But what is it worth to the Titans to bring Corey Davis back to be a number two? And I think $10 million is going to be steep for a number two wide receiver when you're playing Adam Humphries $9 million to be your third guy, especially when you're going into an offseason where the salary cap isn't going up, it might be going down.
Yeah, and we don't know that yet. So you bring up the very interesting point, and this kind of leads us to our question. Should the Titans re-sign Corey Davis? Now, Austin and Jack, and appreciate Jack Gentry. This is a great article. You should go check that out. You know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and I'll put that in the comment section on Facebook, and so you guys can check that out after the show. But the question is, should the Titans re-sign Corey Davis? Now we know the number. So if it's 9, 10, 11, it's something like that, that's kind of the range. Now we ask you guys, should the Titans do it? Should John Robinson this offseason try to keep the band together? Because, look, the facts are the facts. Corey Davis is having his best season so far as a professional in the National Football League. Will that continue? Can he be consistent? Will the contract help or hurt him? Who knows? But should the Titans re-sign him? Not do you want him back. It's should they re-sign him for the betterment of the franchise in all senses of the world. Salary cap, production, locker room. Because Corey Davis is a great dude. He is a good individual. He is a hard worker. He's not going to get in trouble. Like, there's so many good qualities. He just, and this is a thing I struggle with and I will continue to, is I hold him to a standard. And he has not lived up to that standard. So it's going to be tough for me personally to pay him at a high standard.
All right, so I think your standard needs to change. And hold on, and only because AJ Brown is there, so they're not needing like, I get it. The fifth overall pick needs to be held to a standard, but now we're talking about second contract. So now you're no longer looking at a draft pick. You're looking at what they've done in their career so far. So you move
not much,
right? Well, it's more than Devontae Parker, who got 4 years.
I've been out on Devontae Parker since he came out of Louisville. That guy, I played Devontae Parker. Speaking of fantasy, this past week, you know how many points he got?
I don't care.
0.
But again, like,
well, you should care, because that goes to, if you knew fantasy football, it tells you on the field production. So look into it. You talk about stubbornness. That actually made a lot of sense.
All right. So I think there's a lot of good comments. Johnny says, take the chances in the draft for a wide receiver. Ronnie says, need to double down on edge rusher in the draft, but they do need to draft some guys who can play. So the question is, should the Titans re-sign Corey Davis? I saw Titans for Life ask for what number, like for how much. And so what we're kind of saying is it's going to be about 10 mil per year. And T Fizz brings up a great point. It says there's a lot of deep rookies. Like, that's what the college football is putting out. Phenomenal wide receiver prospects every year. Every year. Look at who we just talked about from last year. They're year 2 guys right now. AJ, DK, McLaurin, and there was somebody else, Debo, who's hurt. There's 4 guys who were drafted in the top 2 rounds that are badasses. And then there's Hollywood Brown. But again,
came up big on Monday night.
Yeah, but there's big time. Look at what Justin Jefferson's doing. Like, there is a lot of big time young wide receivers in this league, and there's going to be a new crop of about a dozen to 20 that are going to come out next year that can have an impact. And so
you got to hit, right? That's the hard part. They don't, like you brought up, and you should. You brought up all the ones that have hit. There are things, and you don't think about the ones that didn't, right?
Right. Right. So I have a philosophy on what the Titans need to do to re-sign Corey Davis. So I will tell you that philosophy in a second. But first, Zach, tell the people about Calvin and Subtle.
I'm interested in this. I can get on board for this. I will stick around for this.
Should.
And I'll also tell you about Calvin and Subtle before we get to this. 615-448-6414. They do hardwood floors. They do finishings. They can take care of you this holiday season. A great gift. There's still time. You know what you could do? You could give a gift. It'd be a perfect gift. God, full of great marketing ideas and great gift ideas. You need to go do you wrap a hardwood floor. So your wife opens the gift. You wrap it. It's just a slab of hardwood. And she goes, "What the hell is this, honey?" And you say, "We're getting brand new hardwood floors." You talk about wide eyes. You know how Austin gets mad at me? Wide eyes. She's going to have wide eyes and she's going to be like, "This is the best Christmas ever. I absolutely love you. Our family's going to love this. The house is going to be upgraded. The equity is going to go up, which is good for the homeowner. The family's happy. 2020 is going to be magical because Calvin and Subtle is going to hook you up." Free idea right there. 615-448-6414. You call them, say, "Look, I need a slab of your best hardwood. We're coming in, baby. We're getting brand new hardwood floors in 2021.
All right, A to Z Sports. So my philosophy on how to keep Corey Davis. I didn't expect it, but Jimmy nailed it. Trade Kevin Byard, let Clowney walk, plenty of money. No, that is not my philosophy for how the Titans can re-sign Corey Davis. I do think I have it. And going into this year, remember, Zach, both of us were basically saying, this is it, right? This is it for Corey Davis. No matter what happens, this is last year in Nashville, because he's either going to have an average year and the Titans will move on from him, or he's going to have a badass year and the Titans can afford him, right? Somebody else is going to pay him more. So here's how it works. I think the Tennessee Titans, unfortunately, need to move on from Adam Humphries at the end of this year. And Adam Humphries, while I really, really like what Adam Humphries does, he plays football like he sees the yellow first down line that we see on TV. That's how Adam Humphries plays football. He knows where to be at all times and converts the first down unless he's coming off a concussion with the ball hits him in the face. So Adam Humphries has a potential out this upcoming offseason where you can save $14.7 million over 2 years. So you take that out for Adam Humphries. You're going to have to eat $5 million dead cap, but that's what it is. Adam Humphries has been missing several games. He missed a lot of games last year with an ankle injury, and he's missed a lot of games this year with a concussion, unfortunately. And guess who stepped up this year to do that job? That job of looking where the yellow first down line is, getting there, catching the football, and getting upfield for a first down. Anthony Firkser. Anthony Firkser is basically Adam Humphries' bigger little brother. That's what Anthony Firkser is. And guess how cheap Anthony Firkser is? Very cheap.
I signed this offseason.
Yes, because he was a restricted, I believe it was a exclusive rights free agent. So he was like dirt cheap. So you sign Anthony Firkser back for an insanely good price, who does that type of role from the slot. That's what he does in this offense. He's a tight end, though, but it makes sense. Then you use that money that you cut Adam Humphries for and find a way to get Corey Davis back. Because I before the season started, I loved the idea of spending your first-round draft pick and your second-round draft pick on a corner wideout combo, whichever one you wanted first. First and second round was a corner and wideout. But you can't do that right now. You got to get somebody to rush the passer. You still need an extra corner, I think, but you have to find somebody to rush the passer. I think you have to draft at minimum 2 edge rushers in this next draft.
Or go get they did this year with Clowney. The hard part is you are aligned with me on this. You said it. You have to draft pass rushers.
Yes.
You get the most value after draft. Like Harold Landry is a valued pick because he was actually a first-round pick that dropped to the second round, right? So you pay him second-round money, and he has been good. He's been quality. He hasn't been great, right? He's not T.J. Watt or Nick Bosa or anything like that. But that's on a completely different scale.
The dudes that
draft pass rushers.
Yeah, the dudes that are worth it don't become available in free agency unless you're like Kyle Van Den Bosch. And it'd be great if you can find a Kyle Van Den Bosch, but that hasn't happened in a long time.
Right. But so here was my thing, and this goes back to a previous discussion, Austin, we had this offseason, and you were all on board with drafting a wide receiver. And I felt, and if you looked at how the draft went, there were a ton of wide receivers that went in the first 3 rounds. A ton of them. There are going to be more wide receivers that go in the first 3 rounds of this coming draft. My answer to this question, and thank you, Jarrell, because you gave me the emoji. When I think about paying Corey Davis $10 to $12 million, I'm going to go ahead and put this up there. That's the emoji that I think of. It's the emoji. It's too much money for a guy who I think he's good. He's not great, right? Like he can be bad at times, and he could be not great, but really good at times. Right?
The Corey Davis and AJ Brown.
It's just not a position that you go pay. I think you learned your lesson on Adam Humphries.
Well,
you learned your lesson. Don't pay guys like that.
I think he's and Austin Helfrich says he's got the same stats as AJ minus the touchdowns. So Corey Davis has 4 touchdowns, I believe, maybe 5, and AJ Brown's got 9 receiving plus the onside kick return for a touchdown. But Corey Davis, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, then a Jonnu Smith and an Anthony Ferguson, like you've got this offense for like 2 or 3 more years, right? Like that offense that's what you need. Like Adam Humphries is expendable, and my philosophy.
Corey Davis,
man, like while
I know you hate to say it, but he is also very expendable. He's a top 5 pick that didn't work out.
But Zach, he's working out right now. Can he help you win a Super Bowl over the next 3 years?
But why is he working out right now? He's working out right now.
He finally has a quarterback that can get the ball to him.
And he also has a number 1 wide receiver that takes the distraction away, right? He couldn't do this. He's not a number 1 wide receiver. We started the conversation as that. Corey is not that. He's not that with Mariota, and he wasn't that with Ryan Tannehill. Here's the problem. A.J. Brown caught more touchdown passes last year than Corey Davis did in his first 4 years.
So let's think about this. Like Corey Davis is an outside wide receiver. If you look, like you always talk about how he runs out of bounds. He runs out of bounds because like it's such a high percentage of the time Corey Davis is catching the ball around the numbers heading towards the sideline. Where does A.J. Brown catch the ball? In between the numbers. Most of the time.
He looks upfield.
Zach,
Corey Davis looks
Zach, stop talking for a second. I'm trying to make a point. A.J. Brown catches the ball inside the numbers around the hash marks. Marcus Mariota had success with A.J. Brown. He did not have success with Corey Davis. A.J. Brown fills where Marcus Mariota was comfortable throwing the football, down the middle. Marcus Mariota, for the life of him, could not throw the ball outside the numbers. Corey Davis finally has a quarterback who can deliver the football to him, and it's working.
Go find another wide receiver that's not – you don't have to pay $10 million to in the first couple of rounds that can do the same damn thing.
All right. So, the reason why I'm changing my mind on this is because the Titans are so desperate for pass rushers. And a lot of guys said, what about Bud Dupree? What about Bud Dupree? The guy just tore his ACL like a week ago, and now you want to go sign him in free agency? Like, no, the Titans cannot do that. The Titans have to draft their pass rushers and groom them. This offense is clicking. This offense is a machine. 2 days ago, we just talked about how they could become the first offense in NFL history to go for 4,000-yard passer, 2,000-yard rusher, and 2,000-yard wide receivers. I think you should keep that core here.
What are you going to do? Here's my question. What are you going to do about Jonnu and Jayon?
Like I've been consistent with, I think Jonnu Smith gets an extension. I don't think Jayon Brown does, unfortunately. Like I've said, for the whole offseason, Jayon Brown's replacement is David Long. Jonnu Smith's replacement is not on the roster. And Jonnu Smith, while Anthony Ferkser is solid, Michael Pruitt solid, Jeff Swaim solid, they don't do what Jonnu can. It takes those three tight ends to do what Jonnu Smith does by himself. And so Jonnu Smith needs to be re-signed. I think Jayon Brown is the odd man out. Unfortunately, that guy's a badass.
I agree, and I think
so you're changing your mind on that. Screaming about.
Well, if you let me finish instead of telling me to shut my mouth, it's because he dislocated his elbow and ended the season. That is something that was unfortunate, and it will affect his contract moving forward. It just will. He didn't have an opportunity to play out the year, and that is something that happened. I'm not flip-flopping. It's just that happened. So it's like anything, right? Joe Burrow, we think a little bit different right now than we did 3 months ago about Joe Burrow. It's just the facts. So that's the reason why, if you would let me explain. So that's what I did. I just think it's going to be tough. So you're saying you sign Jonnu, you sign Corey, you cut Adam Humphries, and you don't re-sign Jayon on the defensive side of the football. I just think it's easier and more affordable and more intelligent for John Robinson to go out and draft another wide receiver in the second round.
Yeah, but again, like I do think your first round, your second round picks need to be pass rusher corner. Because I also think
pick has to be a pass rusher. I think and I'm curious.
We don't know what the draft is right now. We don't know the situation. Like everybody's screaming. Every Titans fan that's like looks at Isaiah Wilson and say, this is why you should draft the pass rusher in the first round. Well, at 29 in the 2020 NFL draft, there was not a pass rusher to take there. Like, it didn't make any sense. So you can't just say, take a pass rusher now. Like, wherever they pick in the first round, it has to be a pass rusher. We don't know that right now. We don't. And we might not know that until March.
And like and this is the job of a general manager, and you've kind of seen these steps prior. Usually, John Robinson drafts his first round pick as a strategic play of who he thinks will no longer be on the team in the future. He did that with Rashaan Evans as the middle linebacker. Wesley Woodyard no longer on the team.
Correct.
Jeffrey Simmons, first round pick. Jarrell Casey no longer on the team. Isaiah Wilson, he drafted him. Jack Conklin, no longer on the team. Now, Isaiah Wilson, unfortunately, he is what he is right now. We don't know what he is. So really the thought is, who is he going to draft in the first round that will no longer be on the team? Now, the problem is your biggest hole is pass rusher that has to be filled now. You've already experimented with a free agent, a big-name free agent, and he didn't work. Jadeveon Clowney, because of his injury and his lack of sacks of what he played, was a failure. It was a failed experiment. That's the risk of a GM. So I think in the first round, they will fill the void, as you have said, and it depends on where your pass rusher is there. They have to fill that void. But I just think it's a lot easier because of college football offenses to go find a dynamic wide receiver in the second or third round, so you don't have to pay Corey Davis that runs out of bounds all the time and has had one solid year as a top 5 pick, $11.5 million. All
right. So again, overall, I agree. That's why I thought the Titans should have drafted a wide receiver this past year in the later rounds to better prepare themselves to lose Corey Davis.
He may not have gotten the playing time. Who knows?
He would, because Adam Humphries has been hurt. Remember, Corey Davis missed 2 games with COVID. A.J. Brown missed 2 games with a knee. So that guy would have gotten playing time.
But they have a tackle problem, so you have to put in more tight ends. So that's wrong.
Well, what? Huh? What does that have to do?
They have a tackle problem. There's less wide receivers on the field. Cleve Raymond gets his every once in a while, but they have more tight end heavy sets.
Zach, Cam Batson's getting plenty of snaps. Your 5th round pick wide receiver in the 2020 draft takes Cam Batson's snaps. Like, Cam Batson is a gadget thing. Like, I don't think that means anything, Zach. I think they should have drafted a wide receiver in the later rounds.
There'll be plenty this year.
Yeah, but again, like, I wanted them to be a step ahead, right? Because what'd you just say? John Robinson drafts for who's not going to be in the roster in the future. John Robinson did not draft to replace Corey Davis ahead of time like he did with the others, right? He should have. Cole McDonald, waste of a draft pick. Like I said, I would rather take a 7th-round draft pick at that spot at wide receiver than a damn quarterback.
They obviously saw something in him and then saw him play at practice like Luke Falk and realized that he wasn't the guy. But that happens, right? And it's not guaranteed a 5th-round wide receiver makes the team if he's really bad.
This team, he would have. Because they got Nick Westbrook-Akina out there getting targets, dude. Like, that's my Cam Batson, Nick Westbrook-Akina, get the hell out. You should have had a later round wide receiver rookie taking those reps.
But Austin, I think what they saw out of Khalif Raymond in the playoffs, they felt like he was going to give them more production than they have. I truly believe that was.
I agree, but that's not the case. And
I know that's not the case, but that was the philosophy. We're not talking about the case. We're talking about what they did when they did it in the offseason, and that's why they did it.
Right, which is why
I understand that train of thought.
Okay, I don't. I think it was an oversight, and I think John Robinson.
No, it's a hindsight. It's not an oversight.
How is it a hindsight when I said it in February before the draft? How was that a hindsight?
No, but you didn't know what Khalif Raymond was going to be after he caught a big balls late in the season.
No, I knew Khalif Raymond was always going to be a small role player. Like that's. Again, I am not using hindsight whatsoever because I've been consistent for now 9 months on what the Titans should have done in April in 2020.
They don't have a wide receiver problem right now.
I know that.
So then it was the right move.
My whole thought was looking forward to life after Corey Davis.
You can
stay on the same page, please.
I think you can draft that.
All right, A to Z Sports here live on this Wednesday. We got a fair or foul. I flipped off somebody in my car the other night. Was it fair or was it foul? That is the topic. I will tell you the situation here momentarily. But first, let me tell you guys about Renters Warehouse Nashville. The professional landlords in the Nashville area, renterswarehouse.com is where to go to find out how much your home can rent for. The rental market is booming right now, and Renters Warehouse is a great place for you to go check out because people rent in uncertain times. And so if you're looking to rent a home, go to renterswarehouse.com and look at their database near you. If you're looking to rent your home, make sure you give the professionals the chance to do it. So it makes it easy on you and you create that mailbox money. Every month, the rent comes into your mailbox and you make money. You create extra cash flows for you and your family. Renterswarehouse.com is where to go.
A-to-Z Sports for all of our Titans fans. My Titans at mybookie.ag. We've teamed with them this football season. Get your bets in. We've been using them all year. Mybookie.ag. You get more money back with code MyTitans when you sign up. It's really easy to sign up. You should go there now.
So I flipped off a driver in my neighborhood Sunday evening. So my neighborhood is a historic neighborhood in Nashville by Vanderbilt-ish area. So what they do every year is they do a Christmas light competition for whoever has the best Christmas lights wins. I don't know what, but and so everybody goes all out in our neighborhood minus us because we don't have outlets outside. It would just be confusing. So we drive around. The judging for this competition was Saturday night. So Sunday night when I get home from the Titans game at the Mainstay, we eat dinner and we say, let's go drive around and look at the lights that were just judged. And so we get our 2 dogs in the car. My wife has a to-go cup of wine. We play Christmas music. We roll down the windows so the dogs can look out. And we drive through the neighborhood looking at all the Christmas lights. And so the speed limit on the neighborhood is 20 miles per hour.
It's 20?
20. On the inner streets. Like the street that I live on is 20 miles per hour. It's a walking, running district too.
Wow.
So it's 20. On Natchez Trace, which is the main road, is 25 miles an hour. So much faster, right? So we're basically going home. So I'm basically driving 15-ish or so, or to 20 as I'm going through the neighborhood. And I'm being very cognizant and aware of cars that come behind me because I know I'm going slow. So what I do is I put my hazards on and I peel off to the side, let them go by. People don't understand what hazards mean anymore, which is a different conversation. But on Natchez, as we're heading home, there's a stretch of like 6 houses that are phenomenal with their Christmas lights. And so I start going like 20 on Natchez instead of 25. And so we can look at them on the way home. this car who has not been behind me for very long. They just turned on Natchez behind me. I'm going 20 downhill watching, and they immediately lay on their horn. Like 4 times in a row. And so what do is I took the hand out the window and flip them the big bird back in the way, continue going slow down the hill until I turn on my street and kiss them goodbye.
Did they pass you?
No, after I turned, they were behind me until I turned on my street, which is like one more street. But like, what the hell? Like, get over yourself, car. Like, it was a white SUV. I couldn't tell who was driving. So, but yeah, screw them. Like, I was going maybe 20. They were behind me for maybe 5 to 10 seconds and got so impatient they felt the need to lay on their horn. Like, what losers? What losers?
Here's the problem. I have my fair or foul. Is that fair or is that foul? Answer in the comment section because I am curious to see what everybody thinks about this. Here's my initial. I try to think on both sides. I understand your thought process. Right now, I understand fully what was going on, what was going through your mind. For this white SUV behind you.
Oh, and they flashed their lights. I forgot about that. They laid on the horn, and then they flashed their lights, and then I flipped the bird.
So what I think happened, and we'll talk about justification here in a second, but what I think happened, it was at night. You turn on the street. You don't know. They obviously probably weren't from around that neighborhood. They didn't know the speed limit because 25 miles per hour is so effing slow, it would drive me insane. So if they didn't know the speed limit, why is this person going 20 miles an hour, right? Nobody goes 20 miles an hour. Nobody does.
Right.
Even down to 25 mile per hour speed, you either go 30 or 35. It's just how you do it. Everybody speeds. So that was the miscommunication. I think it was absolutely fair for you to flick these people off because of the number of times they laid on their horn. That is the key. Now, did you put your hazard lights on? This was one of the times you did not.
No, the only time I would put my hazard lights on is when I was allowing somebody to pass me on the inside streets when we were going slower.
Right.
And half the people don't even know. Like, if I put my hazards on and pull over, they're like sitting and waiting behind me. I'm like, no, get the hell around me. Like, what are you doing? Like,
miscommunication, right? There's just miscommunication.
Like, when did the hazard lights stop meaning go around me?
3 honks on your horn equals a bird.
And it was 3 honks and then flicking the brights at me too.
Yeah. 3 honks equal go F yourself, buddy. Get out of my life. Go do yours. So I absolutely think it's justified. That's fair.
I was pissed. Fair. I was mad. Yeah. So did anybody say foul? Because I think
I was looking at him. I didn't see any foul. I think you were in the right. Now, again,
Tommy says foul. You were driving under the speed limit. Okay. I'm in a residential neighborhood. Like, it's like the speed limit is 25 for a reason.
So here would have been an instance if you were below the speed limit and they honked the horn once, or they just flashed their lights and you waved them on or something like pass. I'm doing something, right? I'm watching lights. Then there's your communication where I don't think you've got to pull your bird out of your pocket. Because that didn't happen and they went 3 horns right away for that. That deserves an F you.
And it wasn't like they were behind me for an entire stretch. It was, I was driving, they turned onto the street, immediately run up on me, and then wait no time before they start laying on the horn.
And you got to be careful with road rage because road rage happens and that it never ends. It never ends great. It always ends poorly because you can get over it pretty quick, but everybody's had road rage, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has.
Right. So that's my fair or foul. I think most people said fair. Steven says foul. Let's see. There was one more foul that I wanted to get to as well. Wes, foul, should have waved at them and killed them with kindness. Wes,
3 honks don't justify that.
3 honks and then flashing your lights in my eyes.
I don't care about the flash. You honk at me 3 times, we are going to have some big, big issues where I will roll down my window and cuss them. I don't really care because that's what I hate. Windows up, cussing. I can't understand what you're saying. Windows down, go F yourself, bird. I've done that before. That makes you feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's also road rage. You got to be careful of.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I felt fine to do this in my neighborhood to do that. Like they weren't going to do it.
You did it for the neighborhood.
Yeah, like screw off. Like, come on. All right, A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. Let's throw shade, Zach. We're going to throw shade. I know you've got a really good shade about what today is and how much it sucks because of what it used to be. So throwing shade here on a Wednesday. Get your shade ready. I've also got great shade from Twitter as well. But first, let me tell you about Mandu, the Pulse of Fitness, where one 15-minute workout equals 5+ hours in the weight room. Mandu.com. Your first workout's free. How does that happen? How is it a 15-minute workout that equals 5 hours? Full body electronic muscle stimulation. The results are real because the science is real. I love Mandu. Zach loves Mandu. My wife loves Mandu. You should try it too. Mandu.com. Your first workout, absolutely free. So check them out there. Multiple locations in Nashville. They're in Memphis as well for you guys watching in Memphis and expanding in 2021 across the country.
Last couple of days, our guy Donald has been on it, and he's going to help me make a perfect segue to my shade. So we just talked about road rage, and he brings up road rage actually cost Joe McKnight his life. And if you know Joe McKnight was a very highly recruited running back out of Mississippi. He almost went to Ole Miss. It was between Ole Miss and USC. He ended up choosing USC, unfortunately died of a road rage accident, but it goes into my shade, which is, and I remember waking up on that day trying to figure out, was Joe McKnight going to be an Ole Miss Rebel? You've done that with Tennessee, with many of players, right? Any fan or college football fan, college football, they've ruined what today is. And I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. But National Signing Day is in February. No, well, it's December 16th. No, it's in February. Oh, there's 2. The shade is what college football, Merry Flipmas. I want that. That's cool, but I want it to be one day where we wake up and kids have got to make big time business decisions. Don't be flip-flopping all over Twitter to try to get as many followers as you can. You know how I feel about that. It drives me effing up the wall. More than 3 honks is kids saying they're going to go somewhere and then the next day being like, nah, let's go over to LSU real quick, see if we can get some Bayou Bengal followers. Nah, we're going to Ohio State next week. I want them to sign on the dotted line because that means you now have to commit, and this is the greatest rule in college football. I think you need to sit out the next year, even if you're unhappy, because that makes the decision that you have that much more. Now, does it need to be restructured to a degree because they're essentially employees? Yes. But my shade today is college football ruining National Signing Day by splitting it into 2.
Yeah, I agree with you for the fan side of things. For the fan, it sucks because February's National Signing Day used to be the fans' college football holiday. You wake up early, you do the whole signing day stuff, right? But I get it. It makes a lot of sense for the coaches, and it makes a lot of sense for the recruits who just want to be done with it. And your
Tennessee situation, though, they're going to sign. Let's say in this situation, this is weird, but bowl games matter. That still happens in a regular year. You sign kids, they fire the coach. Well, I didn't sign with this coach.
Yeah,
that's unfair.
Right, but I think players understand that, and
that they shouldn't.
They should they should understand
it. Have to.
Right, they don't have to sign. If they think their coach could be fired that they're committed to, it's up to them to sign or not sign. They don't have to sign. You can wait to sign in February. So that's their choice. I think they understand that.
What if a team signs too many guys, they can't sign enough, you get left out? That has happened.
And B Hall brings up you can get a release from an LOI if you need to. I understand numbers are crazy, but the numbers always work out. And they always work out. And if you need to get out of an LOI, you can figure it out. They're about to do a one-time transfer rule anyway.
Yeah, I want to go into the legal system of the NCAA. I really want to dive deep into that.
But the getting a release from the LOI is not like a crazy thing to do. But National Signing Day no longer as fun for the fan as it used to be.
Hate it.
All right, so my shade, Zach, is on a Twitter interaction that I had Sunday that carried over to Monday. Because I woke up Monday morning and I was like, this guy has no idea what world he lives in.
You have been on a kick of going after not only people behind you in a white SUV, people in the comment section, now people on Twitter. You're on a roll.
This was ridiculous. So VolPix is a handle on Twitter run by Matt Daniels, his name. So I see Trey Wallace who tweets this. This was after the game Saturday. Trey Wallace says, Henry To'oTo'o is a fantastic player for Tennessee. Imagine if he had another elite linebacker next to him. To which Matt Daniel responds with, Quavaris Crouch 100, and that's a play of Crouch making a tackle for loss. To which I respond with this gif. Because there's no way Quavaris Crouch is or should be considered elite. To which VolPix decides to say, to me, look, why are you trashing Tennessee players? And I said, I'm not trashing Tennessee players. You called him elite, which is not true at all. I doubt he thinks he's elite. He's a young linebacker, great physical tools. Don't prop up guys as elite when they aren't. And then Matt Daniels says, when did I say elite? Let's go back to the first tweet. Imagine if To'oTo'o had another elite linebacker next to him, which Matt Daniel VolPix, dumbass, says reverse crouch. So when did I say elite there? But that, Zach, is not even the worst tweet he said, because he followed it up talking about this. The Fox Sports Knoxville guys should be making tweets to help lure in another elite outside corners or star corners to add to the secondary. Why wasn't, wrong grammar, y'all more vocal on Tennessee getting Jabril Cox, no idea who that is, last offseason? Matt Daniel, it is not the media's job to recruit for the University of Tennessee football program. What the hell world are you living in? Because you're not on planet Earth with everybody else. That was the dumbest tweet I've seen since Cody Ledoux said that Corey Davis was on thin ice with Ryan Tannehill.
No, Ryan.
Excuse me.
So here, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know the full landscape of Knoxville media, but was he talking to A to Z Sports or was he talking to Fox Sports Knoxville?
He was in a Twitter thread with me and Trey Wallace. Trey Wallace works for Fox Sports Knoxville.
Right. So he was saying, why wasn't and A to Z Sports kind of insinuating,
why wasn't the media trying to help Tennessee get this recruit last year? What?
Which radio station is Fan Run Radio?
That's Fox Sports Knoxville.
So I think that may be where he's coming from, because Fan Run Radio should try to get recruits if they're fans.
That's the thing. Even Fan Run Radio knows it's not their job to recruit for the University of Tennessee.
It may not be their job, but they may do it. They've branded themselves as that.
But Trey Wallace, strategy. But you know Trey Wallace. Trey Wallace is not that. Trey Wallace is not what Houston Kress and Nate Hodges and John Reed have done over there. That's not Trey Wallace. Trey Wallace is a reporter. He's really good at it. This is ridiculous. Like, Matt Daniel is off of his damn rocker for one, not reading the tweets he's responding to, and then thinking I'm trashing a player when I'm actually trashing him, and then also thinking the media's job is to recruit for Jeremy Pruitt's football team.
Yeah, well, and the difficult part is that he said he wasn't. When did I say elite? And he absolutely responded as he was.
Oh.
Well, Twitter is – this is what I got to remind a lot of people. Twitter's public, and Twitter never forgets. Somebody screenshots your mistakes. It's just because if your mistake is worthy enough to be a mistake, and you have enough followers, whether it's 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000, somebody's going to get a hold of it. So it's a public site.
Right.
You got to think.
Ethan asked, did Matt's mom DM you like the other guy did with Buck? No, not that I know of. And BL's right. Fan Run Radio's platform is to not be sunshine pumpers because the state-run radio in Knoxville is too controlled by the university itself. So that's Fan Run Radio is not to be sunshine pumpers. They're to be the alternative to the radio station.
Fan Run Radio represent though, right?
Zach, I understand Zach, again, I understand what you're saying. That's your perspective from the outside.
That's a brand.
I understand that, but B Hall's informing, and B Hall's right that Knoxville has a battle between the buttoned up old school state run radio and the not, right? And so they made it Fan Run Radio because the Cumulus station in Knoxville just feeds a lot of times, especially under the Butch Jones era, fed program propaganda to the fan base. And that's real. Like that's something that has happened.
The Fan Run Radio are the anarchists.
Yes.
If you brand yourself that's what you are.
Again, I understand that, but they're not branding to you. They're branding to Tennessee fans.
Well, they're branding to everybody. You're right.
That, you understand
you brand.
Okay, so it should be Anarchy Radio.
I kind of like that.
Okay.
Now, let's not block out any streets in Knoxville and try to take over the Sun Globe. But I don't know. But now you explaining that makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
But a brand should not be explained. So they're like, that's what I'm saying.
It's
Fan
not
Run Radio tells me what I think that it is.
You're not
telling me deeper.
You're not who they're branding to. It's not your product that you are in their demographic. Like you get that too, right?
Well, I mean, I am, but that's okay.
No, you're not. You're not a Tennessee fan.
Well, I'm in the state. Like it's a media organization.
Okay, never mind. I'm not getting you off of that. All right, Zach, we did say we were not going to go live for an hour and a half, and we're really damn close because we did that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a top 10 wide receiver to start, and then we talked about a contract that we knew we disagreed on, or at least a player we did. I was surprised that, you went with the re-sign Corey Davis route, but I thought we had some good discussions.
Under the philosophy that I said, like it's got to be done the right way. You don't just go re-sign. Like there's no point in paying both Corey Davis and Adam Humphries.
He's not worth $10 million a year.
All right, Jeff, I think you should understand that if you throw shade and you include derogatory language, we're not going to read it. Like, I think you've been around long enough for this. We're not going to read your shade, Jeff.
Yeah, there's like regulations. You can throw shade at whatever you want, but to be displayed and showcased,
yeah,
probably don't drop F-bombs or,
CJs.
Yeah, or something like that. Don't go political, right? Don't go Republican or Democrat. Don't go presidential. We're probably not going to display that. Anything else, I'm pretty open to, right? I think Austin is as well, but that's kind of how shade, the show. Big Ten Jeff watches the show. He knows the show.
Yep, for sure. All right, guys.
I hope Northwestern whoops that ass on Saturday. I do.
Not going to happen.
I know.
All right, guys.
But the Big Ten does not deserve to get in the college football playoff.
For sure. All right, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day. It is a Wednesday, hump day, Buck Rising back with A to Z Sports Primetime tonight. Don't forget the A to Z Sports Podcast Network, Tighten Up Podcast episode out today. So we will see you guys tomorrow morning. Have a good one.
Adios.